So you mentioned that you were on the stage as young as a baby. So what your family's in music, or music?
My dad is in a band called Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young, Buffalo Springfield, and great band. Maybe not many people have heard of, called Manassas, which I highly recommend. It's one of the greatest bands ever. And my mom is a solo artist in France, and so I pretty much grew up. But she's like kind of like Joni Mitchell meets Elton John and Billy Joel by a French woman, you know, sort of Leon Russell-y classical blues mix, this gorgeous voice. And her name's Veronique Sanson, and I just got off tour with her. We did a little tour for a couple months through France, and she's got like a big record out and all that stuff. That's my first show. I was a baby then. Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young were playing Wembley in '74, and there's a video of it, and there I get to watch myself be on stage in front of like 75,000 people. So that might have been when I kind of took a liking to being on stage. Might have started there.
Yeah. No, any crowds are that big since then?
I played in front of 17,000 people one time in Bercy for a week, opening up for a French artist called Eddie Mitchell, and I learned how to. That was a lesson. That was a great lesson. First night out, I was by myself, acoustic guitar and piano, whatever. But this guy Eddie Mitchell, he had like rabid fans, and I'm sitting there playing this like slow song. 17,000 people, just like kind of over there is 2,000 people, and over there is 2,000 people, and it's so infinitely huge. And I'm sitting there going like, singing the song "Story of a Dying Man," my second record, and it wasn't working, and like there were people in the audience going like Eddie, right in the middle of my song, and like just screaming out loud. And then I bumped into my mom at the time was playing with a bass player named Lee Sklar. He's a bass player for Genesis, and he's amazing. He looks like a druid. He's got a long beard. He's amazing. I love that man. And so I was like telling him, man, it's like tough out there. And he's like, he's like, you're in a sporting arena, It's like Bercy. It's this literally, it's like the Staples Center or whatever. It's this big sporting arena. And he just said, you got to do it. It's like a gladiator match. Like nobody can see you. The second row, and it's true. The types of venue, you look at the second row, they're like this big, So you got to get their attention. And then therein was my lesson. And I like second gig or third gig in, I was like, second gig, first gig, there was like 15 people during my set. It was like, Eddie! And then this second gig, there was like 5 people. And by the third night, I like figured it out. And then nobody said Eddie. And one person said, Christopher! Like that. And of course, that was my godfather. I recognized him too. It was funny. It was like, but, I had 17,000 people clapping their hands and getting down. And it was, so that was my first huge show.
How did you get into the craft of songwriting?
Well, I was about 10 years old when I heard the song "Little Wing" by Jimi Hendrix come on the radio as I arrived home from school, and I'd heard him do "Foxy Lady" and "Light My Fire" and all that stuff, and I just realized it was sort of like the door of songwriting opened up, and I realized like the depth of how you could change direction, and that just never occurred to me. I thought like a 10-year-old kid who thought just like when you do rock, and when you do classical, you do classical, and then all of a sudden there was like this whole world that I became interested in, and then I was like from then on out I started to really like listen to music, and then cut to a few years later, I was about 14 or 15, and I picked up the guitar, and then when I was about 17, I wrote my first real song that was on my first record. I got signed to Atlantic Records, and it was called "If I Were a Mountain," and I remember playing it for my mom and dad, and they kind of were like, "Damn it, don't you want to go be a doctor or a lawyer or something?" And I'm like, all right, here we go again, kind of thing. But I was just off to New York City and started my first band, and I was off to the races after that.